Welcome. Thank you for joining Carini Arts behind the scenes. Please check out CariniArts.com for my shop, my blog, my podcast. You can also find my other social media platforms, including Facebook, Instagram, and much more. And today, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what the best social media platforms are for artists. It's a question that I'm constantly wondering, and it seems like there's always a new one popping up each day. Some have stood the test of time and seem like they're going to be here forever. Some have come and gone the wayside. So I want to know, first and foremost, which ones have worked for you and which have disappointed you. But I think we'll do a little rundown and we'll talk about the different platforms, how I use them, and what's worked for me, because all I can really share is my experience. But I've sort of had an up and down journey with the various social media platforms. I even go through my periods where I say to myself, I want to focus on making the work. I don't want to be on social media all the time. I don't want to be doing that. But as an artist, it's a free resource in many cases if you're not paying for the advertising. And it's something that gets your work out there and does provide you with a wonderful opportunity to share what you do. We live in this age where we have this tool that can be a great resource. It can be a detriment in some cases, but if you use it as a resource and as a tool, it can really further your career. So let's go through the different channels and talk about them and which ones work for me and which ones don't. So I have a list here of some of the different channels, and let's just start with Facebook, because I think that that's probably the most popular, if not one of the most popular. And Facebook has served me well. My audience right now is around 49,000 or so on Facebook. At one point, I was up over 50, but I started going backwards. And so I started to question if I was doing something wrong, because my numbers have been going in the opposite direction. So we're taught that we shouldn't base our value on number of followers, and you absolutely shouldn't. But I did have to ask myself that question. Now, I've had my obstacles with Facebook over the years because I tend to get banned or suspended a lot on Facebook. And I can never really put my finger on it, aside from the fact that I think it interprets me as being a bot because I post regularly and consistently, because I believe in posting several times a day, because, hey, free advertising. This is all that I do for a living. I'm a full-time artist, so I have to make it work for me. And Facebook has been the platform that has generated the most sales for me. So a lot of the commissions that I get, a lot of the originals that I sell, even a lot of the sales that come on my shop, they are generated from Facebook. And I've been able to gather that information from the analytics that I have from ads that I've done in the past. And from my shop analytics, it tells me that the majority of my referrals do come from Facebook. So for me, it comes down to recognizing my audience. My audience is primarily female, in the range of 35 to 55, and that is a popular demographic on Facebook. So I do reach the most people on Facebook. I find that when I post things and I share them onto Facebook, that it has the greatest reach for me. So I do want to backtrack for a second, though, and say that really what it comes down to is that there's not necessarily a better platform. It's which platform works for you. So I think that I want to dive into the positives and the negatives of the different platforms and how they can work for you. So Facebook, I find, is great for obviously photo content and for descriptions, for event information of what's coming up, what I'm doing behind the scenes. It's great for videos, although I find that people don't watch videos quite as often on Facebook, which is one of the reasons that I've shifted to coming on YouTube. I was doing the majority of my live talks and engagements on Facebook, and I actually do get significantly more reach there. But I tend to struggle with the Facebook algorithm that's constantly changing. And I have found that over the years, Facebook has made it harder and harder to reach people. So even though I've built up this mass of a following, I tend to reach fewer and fewer people each day, it seems like. And I've decided that in an effort to diversify and not put all my seeds in one pot, I am trying to get onto some of the other social media platforms, just so I have a backup in case something ever happens, because, hey, you never know what could happen. But I find that the majority of artists find Facebook to be a wonderful tool for their work. Now, I do have a business page on Facebook, my page being Carini Arts, so you can join me there. But I have also heard feedback that when you have a business page, that you don't reach as many people as you do from a personal page. I can't say if that's true or not, but that is the information that I have gathered. and what I've been told. But having the business page, it does allow me to connect the shop or create the Facebook shop, which is then connected to my Shopify store, which is my e-commerce site. So a lot of valuable tools there on Facebook. A great place for me to share a combination of things, including the work of other artists, memes, funny content, behind the scenes stuff. So combination of videos and photos and just descriptions, events, information like that, being able to create an event like I did for my summer show. So Facebook tends to be my greatest resource and has probably generated the most for me over the years. I did at one time experiment with Facebook ads, and I found that it was not for me. And what I found was that your retention rates and your conversion rates are much higher when the traffic is organic, when the people want to be there. So just something to contemplate there. Now, the other big one is Instagram. Now, Instagram being purchased by Facebook, they're somewhat integrated at this point. So there are a lot of similarities, but there are also some differences. Now, on Instagram, I would say that's my second most successful platform. I do get quite a few referrals to and from Instagram. I get quite a bit of my commission work from Instagram. But again, it's one of those platforms where at a little over 20,000 followers, I was at one point higher, but I seem to be going backwards and losing followers. So it was one of those things that started to get into my head, and I had to have a conversation with myself and say, hey, don't pay attention to the number of followers, pay attention to the quality, because it's better to have even 100 followers that engage with you and interact with you and really want to be there than to have 1 million followers that are just there or that somebody paid for. And so what I have surmised is that I think I have a lot of bots that follow me on Instagram, because when I post things on Instagram these days, I get a lot of comments of, hey, share your work here and get promotion, and people trying to collaborate that are obviously not real people, but just businesses and fake accounts trying to solicit. But Instagram is a great tool for obviously the photos. I have found that I have more success on Instagram when I post less. So posting less on Instagram than I do on Facebook. The feature that I like on Instagram these days is the Reels feature, which obviously contends with and was created to sort of battle TikTok and Snapchat, because it's something along those lines where you can add music to little video montages. So a lot of times I'll do little video clips of my paintings of the process, splice them, put them together, mash them up, and then add a little music. And then, hey, here's a 15 to 30-second video of my work being created. And I tend to get the best response, I think, from that because of the people that it reaches, the amount of people that it reaches. Because Instagram's another one, in fact, even more so than Facebook, where my reach seems to be very, very limited. At 20,000 followers, I would think that I would reach quite a few people and get quite a few likes on my post, provided that I'm not posting really crappy content. But a lot of times my posts will only reach like 500 people when I have 20,000 followers, and I'll struggle to get 50 likes on a post. And it really kind of makes me question if I set something up wrong or if I'm doing something wrong. And so I have backed off on the posting there, trying to post a little bit less there. And I have found that has worked a little bit. But the other thing that I like about Instagram is the opportunity for stories. And same thing with Facebook, you have the opportunity for the stories. So I've shifted to doing less posts and balancing out the stories, the reels, and the other thing that Instagram has is the IGTV or the live feeds. So I used to do a lot of live feeds on Instagram, but I noticed that I was reaching fewer and fewer people with that. So I'll do those less now these days too. And so again, I'm shifting to YouTube for that because of the better opportunities for sharing. And so we'll probably get into YouTube next. But Instagram, I find, is another great resource. If you're an artist and you're doing something visually based, Facebook and Instagram are great resources, and they are still at this time free resources. So although you may not reach as many people as you might have been able to 5-10 years ago, if you're using it as a free platform, it's a great way to connect and to reach people. So I would say that those are probably my top two for generating business and generating referrals. So they do get the majority of my time and my love. Now let's go on to YouTube. So YouTube is something that I have been on for a while, but my page has been somewhat of a dumpster fire for the last decade. It was just a hodgepodge mix of video content that I didn't want to lose, and I wanted a place to house it and store it. So I threw on a handful of videos over the course of the last decade. It wasn't until a little over a month ago that I said, hey, I want to come on and I really want to focus on YouTube. And part of the reason why was because I think that the way that it stores the videos, it makes the videos accessible, it makes the videos shareable on a variety of formats in a way that is more convenient and beneficial, I think. I think that that is a great tool and resource. So if you do video content, I think that YouTube is a great place. Now, I don't upload a lot of videos onto YouTube. I've started using these shorts, which they seem to have created to, again, compete with things like Instagram Reels and TikTok and Snapchat. And I found that is a great way to traffic people here because I've just been tinkering with that for the past month. And I've noticed that that is the bulk and majority of the views that I get. But it traffics people to your page and gets a little bit of attention. So it says, hey, check me out. Maybe you'll like my stuff. Then people can come on here, see that I do more of the live feeds. And I do love the live feeds because it gives me an opportunity to just come on, very candidly talk to people, and I'm not spending a lot of time doing the uploads, which I think that people have to do. I don't do a lot of edits, so it's great that you have the opportunity to just do raw and candid feeds and features like this, as opposed to doing the major editing. Now, I know the people that are super successful making a bunch of money because YouTube is a platform where you can actually make money. A lot of those people are doing very professional videos that are cropped, edited, cut, perhaps scripted, and I don't do any of that type of stuff. So you can do that. Not the thing for me, though. I like to just come on, have raw and real talks, give you an opportunity to talk back to me if anybody decides to join me, because I am in my infancy stage still on YouTube, even though I've had my page up for a while. I don't have a lot of people here, and so I don't have a lot of engagement at the moment, but I'm hoping that in due time, maybe people will, through Google searches and things of that nature, stumble onto my page, find some of my Artist Talks helpful, and then maybe join me for the conversation so that we could have a little bit more of a dialogue. But I realized that I was leaving a big hole by not spending time doing stuff on YouTube, because a big part of what I do is to educate and mentor and talk about art. And so YouTube is a wonderful platform for that. And I have had some videos in the past that have done well. So why I neglected it for so long is simply an oversight on my part. So YouTube, I think another great resource if you have a lot of video content, or if you want to come on, talk, do demos, tutorials, and things of that nature. You can also do those things on Facebook and Instagram. I just don't find that I have quite the video views on platforms like that, and the ability to share and have an actual URL for them a little bit trickier than it is with YouTube, which is much more user-friendly in that regard. Now, next I want to jump to a platform that is somewhat obsolete these days, but that served me very, very well at one point in time. So back around 2012, when I finally said, oh, thank you. So just Angie Film says you'll grow with time. I appreciate that. I'm doing my best, and I appreciate somebody leaving a comment. A lot of times I'll be on here with nobody watching or with one person. So it's cool, though. It's nice to have a little engagement, a little affirmation, and an opportunity to talk to people. And the other thing I have to recognize about social media, and the reason to diversify with social media, is the fact that certain people may only use one platform. So there may be people that don't know about me because they only use YouTube. So by doing this, it gives me an opportunity to kind of get out there in different ways and engage with people on the platform that they may feel more comfortable with, because maybe you just naturally feel more comfortable with a certain platform. And that brings me to Tumblr. So Tumblr, 2012, Tumblr was all the rage in terms of blog pages. And I did really, really, really well on Tumblr. Within a couple years, I was up to over 75,000 followers on Tumblr. Now, numbers are all relative, so don't take that to be a lot. Or there's people with far more and people with less, so I don't want you to get too fixated on the numbers. But it was just something where I saw my popularity grow, and people were responsive to what I was doing, sharing not only my work, but work that I liked, sharing other things that I thought were interesting and intriguing. And then Tumblr was bought by, I believe, Yahoo. And I may be mistaken. I don't always do my full research. I just candidly talk to people. But I believe they were bought by Yahoo. And then they did the thing where there wasn't porn allowed there anymore, or adult content. And ever since they got rid of the adult content and all that, like, now it's obsolete almost. So I still post on there because I do find that I still get people that find me through Google searches because of Tumblr and search engine optimization. But I'll post things on Tumblr now, and a lot of times they'll get no likes or they'll get 2 or 3 likes. I'll get a few things that I post, like my poetry on Tumblr, and maybe it'll get like 20, 30 likes or something like that. But at one point, Tumblr had what's called or they still have it, but I don't know how to get on it anymore. They had what's called the Tumblr radar. And so if you got on the Tumblr radar, that meant that if somebody went to Tumblr, that you were on the main homepage, or if somebody was logging in or signing up for Tumblr, that they would see your work there. So I want to read this comment real quick. It says, and I'm going to read it because I'm not sure if everybody's going to see them. That's true, though. I think if you want to post more on YouTube, you should post teasers on other platforms and say longer video on YouTube. A lot of people do that. Okay, cool. So that's one of the things that I've been trying, because I figured, hey, if I'm coming on to YouTube and I'm having this talk, and then I'm going on to Tumblr or Facebook or Instagram and I'm having the same exact talk, then why are people going to be as interested? So I've had to kind of try to learn this balance of to give teasers, like you say, and to maybe post different things on the different platforms. But with me, somebody that's OCD and overthinks things, I think, oh, well, if this is good content, then it needs to go everywhere because I'm missing out by not putting it in all of these places. So that's the battle that I am having. So do I hashtag on Tumblr? Yes. And so it was using the hashtags that really helped me and allowed me to get on the radar. So you used to be able to hashtag a few different things, and you could actually find out who the editors were of certain pages, because Tumblr was cool. It was basically run by the people. So Tumblr would appoint certain people as editors. So you could find out who the editors were for certain categories like art and artists on Tumblr. And you could reach out to the editors. And me, as somebody that's proactive and not afraid to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm willing to be an ambassador for this. Hey, check out my work. Hey, here's what I got going on. I had people that were very responsive to me. And so it allowed me to grow very, very fast. And then when Yahoo took over, I think that they changed that. So I have not been on the radar for years and years. I don't even know how to do it anymore. But I used to be able to message editors and tag certain things. And when you show up on the radar, you gain like thousands of followers like that immediately. And so it was really cool, great for search engine optimization and reaching people. So it was a wonderful tool. And unfortunately, it's gone the wayside, but I still use it. And I still technically have 75,000 followers on there, but nobody's really there to see the stuff. So that's the difficulty there. So let's jump into, we got a few here. This one will be quick, so I want to jump into this. We'll jump into Reddit. So reading the comments about Tumblr, that makes a lot of sense. About YouTube and other platforms wanting to post the same things on all, you can always do that too. Yeah, so that's just the debate is if it becomes too much, because I think that that's the problem that I've had, is I think that if people see too much of you, they feel like you're almost too accessible, whereas if you're not there a lot, you're somewhat enigmatic. But I try to be there consistently because this is what I do full time. And I know that somebody may be looking at stuff at 3 o'clock in the morning when maybe they're having a really terrible day and they just need something to believe in. And maybe I'll be the person that hits them. So I like to be somebody that people can kind of look at as that TV show that's comfortable, that's there for you all the time. But I think that it has hurt me in certain ways because I'm there consistently. So people are like, oh, Michael Carini's always doing something. There's always something going on with Carini Arts. And so it makes me less of a draw and less intriguing. And so if maybe I posted once a week or once a month, maybe people would be far more interested in the things that I'm putting out there. But that's the debate, and that's the question that you have to ask yourself of what type of artist you want to be and how you want to be perceived and what you want to do. And I'm not necessarily trying to be famous. I'm trying to be a resource for other artists while trying to make a living doing this. So that's my obstacle. So Reddit. So I'll be honest. I have had people tell me in the past that I absolutely must sign up for Reddit, that Reddit's the most amazing thing ever and that you will just reach so many people. So I tried to sign up the other day, and I have never been more confused in my life. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I tried to post something and it was not really working. So I'm like, oh, am I just at that age where things just don't make sense anymore? But yeah, it was confusing. And I posted about that on Facebook. I'm like, I just signed up for Reddit and I have no freaking clue how this crap works. And a few other people seem to say the same thing. So I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. So I don't know how much time I'm going to put into that. I might just leave that. So next, I think we should talk about the big one these days is TikTok. So TikTok, definitely, primarily, or at least majority-wise, a Generation Z audience. So not necessarily a buyer's audience for the most part, but it's a great way to do fun things, interesting things, things that are out of the ordinary. So I'll do a lot of the video montages like the reels that I do for Instagram, and I'll put those on TikTok. But I'll also put a lot of the funny stuff, behind the scenes stuff, of my cat giving me high fives, of my cats doing tricks, of my cats in the studio laying around, of things that my girlfriend does. So sometimes it'll be completely non-art related stuff. And in fact, I think that my TikTok name is something like Cat Daddy Carini Arts or something like that. So having a little bit more fun there. So TikTok is where you're supposed to be a little looser and a little less professional at times, I think. Yeah, I thought I would do well on TikTok. I've only been on there for a few months, but let's see. I'm at 712 followers on there, 12.7 thousand likes. So I don't reach a lot of people. In the videos that I've posted that reached the most people were of my cats doing tricks. I had a couple videos that got like 70,000 views, and then a video of me at SeaWorld just making a comment about something. So the majority of my art videos on TikTok have not done well, but I don't really do a lot of editing or putting together super high quality videos and getting content to line up, like music and audio and things like that, and crisp, clear audio and crisp, clear imagery. Even with my new iPhone, the new phone helps, but I don't seem to get that quality that other people do. So I don't know if I have my settings off. Again, I'm on the older side of things. So being at the avant-garde, the front of social media is a bit of a challenge for me. But I know that a lot of people do well on TikTok. So do you hashtag the art TikToks and the art trending hashtags? Yes, I try, and I do try using FYP and FY P tags. But yeah, for some reason, again, I don't know if it's the amount of me posting or what. The algorithm sometimes it's just hit or miss. But I'm on there. I try to post somewhat consistently. I'm looking at my page right now, so you can kind of see right there. So there, you can join me on TikTok. In fact, I should just show you all my different pages. So while we're at it, I want to make sure I don't have anything inappropriate on here. I wouldn't do that. And then you could, of course, join me on Instagram. I also have a page for my poetry on Instagram. So that was something that I did recently just because people were telling me for a long time I should have a different page for that. And my art is my life is my art. So I try not to separate things for the most part. But I decided that I just wanted to have a page that was about my poetry. So I don't have a lot of followers on my poetry page, but I'm okay with it. I feel less pressure about my page that only has 125, 126 followers because I can post on there whatever I want. And it's like, oh, I don't have to feel the pressure that I do with the business. So Facebook, I have a personal page and I post a lot of art on there, but this is the business page. So Carini Arts. So you can see, there you go. So Pinterest. So Pinterest is another one that I don't fully get or understand, but I do have that connected to my shop, and my shop tells me that I get a lot of views from Pinterest. So I guess that it's exposing the brand a lot, but I don't know that I'm using it properly or that I fully understand it. And I did try even running ads on it. They gave me free ad credit at one point. So again, some of these platforms, if you have a business page, they'll throw you some free ad credit. Pinterest has done that. So you can try that out if they try to throw you some ad credit. Facebook has thrown me free ad credit. Instagram has thrown me free ad credit in the past. And Yelp has thrown me free ad credit. So Yelp is a great resource too, even though it's not quite social media per se. But I have found that locally generating business, Yelp is a wonderful tool. The other tool sort of in line with that's a social media platform that's on the smaller side and that not a lot of people may know about is called Nextdoor. So Nextdoor, I had a business page on there and the business page would reach almost nobody. And so I thought, oh, this is just a waste of time. It doesn't reach anybody. I'm not going to continue doing this. But I started posting more stuff on the personal page. So I made it sound a little less businessy, but I was like, hey, my studio cat Braska and I are getting creative because it's Monday. Braska wants to say hello, and a lot of people responded to it. So again, sometimes getting a business page is not necessarily the thing to do, but it does oftentimes open up access to different tools and resources. So you're just going to have to weigh out what works better for you, and if you want to manage multiple pages or if you just want to have one. So something to consider there. So the other one that I haven't got to that a lot of people use is Twitter. Twitter can be a great resource. I have never done super well on there. Twitter, I think I have like 100 and some odd followers, but I do post stuff on there, and it has at times generated business for me. Maybe not a lot per se, but it has. And Twitter, because it's about words, I've started shifting a lot of the poetry to Twitter. So I will use the one Instagram page for a lot of the poetry. I'll post a lot of the poetry on Twitter, but I'll also post news and the TikTok videos. So that's the other thing that I like about TikTok is TikTok allows me to share to a variety of platforms like Twitter easily and Snapchat. So Twitter, I do find great for the words, but because I'm a visually based artist, I don't know that people respond as much to some of the content there. So Snapchat. So Snapchat has the new Spotlight feature, and I've been testing that out, trying that. And so sometimes I reach some people, but I don't think that I have a massive following on Snapchat because you can now have public profiles. So what it seems like is a lot of the social media channels are trying to emulate the other channels and what they're doing to try to stay, again, at the front and up to date with things so that they're not outdated and so that they're still current and relevant. People still want to use them. But it seems like each platform has its own benefits and things that work for it. So I would have to say that for the most part, though, almost every social media platform, even the ones that I don't have a lot of followers on, has generated some business for me. Even some of the apps, the non-social media per se, but the dating apps, I have actually managed to make sales via Bumble and Tinder and pretty much every other platform imaginable, including Nextdoor, which I had mentioned, and Yelp, of course. So any of these platforms, any of these apps can be a tool for you and for your art. You just have to find what works for you, try out the different things. If you don't like it, you can abandon it. But I think that it is good to diversify. We never know when any of these are going to be shut down or going to be obsolete. Tumblr, like I said, I had 75,000 followers on there. It seemed like it was something that was going to go on forever and be popular. And then Facebook and Instagram dominated, and Tumblr not really part of the conversation these days. Some people haven't even heard of it. I think I told my girlfriend about it, and she said, "What the hell is Tumblr?" So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. But I'm curious, which platforms work for you? I know this talk ran a little longer, but I had a lot to say about these things. So some of the talks that I do will be short. Some of the talks will be a little bit longer, but I hope to provide resources and information that will be beneficial to artists. We can talk about different things. And once I do reach 1,000 followers here on YouTube, I should be able to use my mobile to do recording, which will be better quality. And then I can actually hook it up to some of my other devices, and I can do some demos of different techniques. So help me get to 1,000 followers by sharing my stuff on your platforms, because again, I said YouTube's friendly for sharing to Pinterest and to even LinkedIn. That's another one that I use. But I've found that that's more for people soliciting and doesn't really generate a lot for you as an artist person. Maybe it does for you, but it has not for me. So again, I'm just sharing my experience, but I'm curious what platforms have worked for you and which ones have sort of let you down. So join me for much more here on YouTube, and join me on my other platforms. And I'd love to talk to you, show you what I'm doing, but share your thoughts, share your opinions. Have a great day. CariniArts.com.